when you have pain points in your business, you don't want to think about how you solve it. You want to think about who can solve that problem for you.
Louis Hudnell from Mirapitas, California. Thanks for being on the show, man.
Likewise, it was great meeting you and Greg in person at Real Estate Ignite Veteran. I've been there in person 3 times, but then obviously the last 2 years were virtual. I did really feel something different this time going in person because it's been so long. And yeah, getting to meet the celebrities here, you and Greg, it was a great experience.
You have any kind of like takeaways that you learned this weekend that you want to share?
I do. So right off the bat in the welcome session, Paul Asajan, I think he wrote on the board, goals, commitment, and discipline. And I don't know, it just kind of really resonated with me because I think about those 3 concepts all the time. And it really sort of drives everything that I do, both personally, professionally, and in the realm of real estate. So him kind of highlighting that right off the bat just kind of got me right from the beginning focused on what I needed to do at the conference. Second one comes from your session. You guys were up day 1. I think there was a question in the Q&A period about multifam versus single fam. And Greg gave an answer about why you don't necessarily need to consider multifam. You can still achieve the same sort of returns and results from just having multiple single fams. And I thought that was a great insight because that's how I had been thinking about it. You know, I know that down in Florida, I've seen 2-family rentals, 3-family rentals, quads. And I'm always like, why do that when I can just get 4 singles? And that's essentially what Greg said. So I thought the way he explained it was kind of confirmed how I was thinking about it. So I thought that was good.
Do you remember why he said that it was valuable? Do you remember like what he was talking about?
You know, the one thing that really stood out to me was exit strategy. Even though in the passive income game, you want to hold these, like he says, for a full market cycle of 10 years plus. But when it does come time to sell, for example, in the Paul Shively session where he sold his dad's house, you want to be able to sell the house, right? You need to be able to make that sale happen. And not everyone out there is looking for quads. I think there's a much healthier market for single fam. And so even though that decision point may be further down the line for you, still thinking about it ahead of time will set you up for that transaction. So when Greg said the exit strategy piece of it, that was really how I also had thought about it. I'm glad I'm on the right path, I guess.
Yeah, me too, man. So that came from, I met another gentleman named Lee on the Thursday before not Lee Bishop, our famous MVP here. I met him on the Thursday before the show, and I was talking to him about multifamily versus single family. And I heard a couple of people bring up that multifamily because people are trying to hedge the risk of vacancy. So like thinking if you have a 3-plex or a 4-plex and one isn't rented and the other ones are paying for it. And I remember as Greg showed up to Vegas, I was like, hey man, what is the answer to this? And he's like, why don't we just talk about it on the talk tomorrow, which I thought was a great idea. But yeah, to your point, man, I then got asked about that a lot. And while I like the exit strategy part of it too, the other thing that became apparent to me as I talked through it to people is I would not have been where I am at now with 3 properties if I was waiting to get a multifamily. So kind of like what we talked with Brandon about of just like getting on base, it was really crucial for me to buy that first one and then figure out how to buy the second one and then figure out how to buy the third one. Instead of trying to save up all this bigger sum of money to try to get a multifamily, I would have lost out on time and market. I would have lost out on the interest rates that I got early on. And I thought that was really interesting. It's the idea that if you buy 3 to 4 homes and you figure out how to acquire them in the next 2 to 3 years, it is like getting a multifamily from the diversification of risk perspective, but it has the exit strategy. And on top of that, you're almost like dollar costing into the market the same way that you do with other asset classes. So yeah, I thought that was great, man. Thanks for bringing that up.
Day 2, I went to the business growth strategies one. This was the panel with all the Fortune Builder founders. They had the gentleman from their commercial partner, but he said that a lot of the conversation in that session was about sort of personal improvement. They talked about surrounding yourself with people smarter than you and joining masterminds and all that stuff. But the one thing this gentleman said was that he does this like personal challenge every year. He identifies a personal challenge for him. I think it was, I don't know if it was like running a triathlon or something crazy.
It was an Ironman, right? He did an Ironman. Yeah,
Ironman, something like that. And he said that doing that personal challenge helps him become a better business person. And I thought that was really interesting because I'd never really put those two together. I sort of think of them as separate compartments. but he puts that personal challenge out for himself every single year. And again, that helps him become comfortable in uncomfortable situations. And that applies to everything that he does. That might be something I'll try to implement for myself in 2023. I'm not jumping off any bridges or out of airplanes or whatever doing Ironmans, but I'll find something that'll push me and hopefully that'll yield results in other areas.
I love the personal development side of this stuff.
This was kind of what I was really going to the conference for. And I kind of got it in a session I wasn't really expecting to get it. I went to the EXP session, and the speaker there mentioned a book called Who Not How. I needed to hear that because my day job, not my real estate job, but my day job as an attorney, I've got some definite who versus how problems. And so I'm all excited about putting this book on my Christmas list and getting it. Generally, the concept is when you have pain points in your business, you don't want to think about how you solve it. You want to think about who can solve that problem for you, because there's going to be someone out there more skilled than you, who's better situated, that you can plug in and come in and address that problem more immediately than you trying to figure out how to do it. And that comes up in my day job, that comes up in real estate. And so I really want to dive into this book and just kind of get focused on solving my how problems with who. So that was a big one for me.